also for mobilization, of which both were done by the contractor. The designs were submitted, and they mobilized and did some work on actually both sides. I submit, Chair.
Any follow-up questions, colleagues? Rana Koka.
Chair, thank you for your indulgence. 33,750,000 US dollars. How much of this was for designing? I'm not an expert in that field, but I would like to know whether 33 million, once you give us the figure of what was the design component in here, surely there was a figure for designing and there was a figure for mobilizing. Maybe can you break it down for us?
Thank you. The good news is that we have the project architect with us, so I'll call upon him to break down what was in the 33 in the advance payment as how much was for design and how much was for the mobilization. Thank you.
Maybe before the architect comes on board, I think the ministry has to satisfy us, with responses. For example, if the conclusion of your submission is that these funds will be recovered in full, and in another breath you are telling us that works were done, how are you going to recover these funds in full? I think for me those are questions that the ministry must respond to even before the architect comes on board. So I think let's have the ministry back on the microphone before the architect can respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
That's what Wachata can do, because that's his area. Let him do it.
Oh, okay.
Please just introduce yourself.
Wachata is my name. Muhetu Wachata, Minister of Education. No, thank you, Chair. Indeed, our submission is the advance will be recovered in full upon preparation of final account. Ideally, what was supposed to be done was gradual recovery of that advance upon payment. We were supposed to be recovering it in each IPC prepared, and as per contractual provisions, the recovery should have started in IPC number 3. On this project, only 2 IPCs were prepared. That is the advance itself and the IPC number 1, which is yet to be paid by the ministry as well. So upon preparation of the advance payment, that advance encompasses part of the works. So in the final accounts, it will be captured as works done, which will be recovered, which will be an addition on the positive side. Then the advance, which was a loan, an interest-free loan to the contractor, will be captured as a negative, which the contractor will have to pay. So the 2 amounts will be offset, but on our books we'll recover the advance in full, 100%. I submit.
Chair, I now see what they actually mean by recovering in full. And I don't know whether that's actually what the PS also understood was supposed to be happening. I'm tempted to say we were technically being misled here, Chair, with this statement that it was going to be recovered in full. In the same submission, you can't say we're in the process of terminating the contract and then saying we're going to recover in full. And when asked to explain how this recovery will be doing, you start telling us about IPCs. How are these, where are these IPCs going to come from when the contract is being terminated? What we want to know here is whether the contractor is going to wire the money back to the ministry's account. That's what constitutes the recovery we are talking about here. So can we be categorical whether that type of recovery isn't the one that is being talked about here? Then we can move to the one you are explaining. Can we get confirmation that therefore there is no recovering of this money in the normal sense of money being sent back to the government? Is that the position? Thank you.
Witness?
Thank you, Honorable, and thank you, Chair. Contracts are administered using contractual provisions, and everything we do is guided by the contract. So even as we prepare the IPCs, they are guided as per contractual provision. So, and according to the contractual provisions, when a project is terminated, the next step is to prepare a final account. It is the final account statement which will now tell us who owes who on that contract. As it stands now, no one can ascertain who owes who on this contract. Like I mentioned, there is an IPC which was issued. That will be captured, which was certified. That will be captured as well in the final account. So upon preparation of the final account, that's when now we will know fully what amount is owed to the contractor, or indeed if the contractor owes the government. I submit.
Just a quick one, Chair. From the report, this contract was terminated on 31st December 2022. Would the PS tell this House or this committee as to whether you have done the closure of accounts, or you have ascertained the works done and the amounts which are paid, so that we know who owes who and when this will be done? Because I believe this is 2024. Have we done the work, these assessments? Thank you.
Chair,
Over to you, PS.
I think we couldn't have done that. You remember this case at one point was in court. And because it was in court, you can't do anything, even if you yourselves have convinced yourself that you should do that. So we're waiting for that position. And now that the position is that, I think it's a knowledge that was entered, isn't it? Now we are free to request that there should be final accounts. So this is the time now when this process is going to begin. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Makoka.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we have to get back to what the query is so that we move systematically here. I hear that, and the explanation technically that makes a lot of sense. But the query is there was questionable advance payment. So, and the explanations for why the auditor is finding the advance payment of the 3 million questionable is given. In your response, you have actually said this was paid in accordance with the commercial contract clauses, which means you are saying there was nothing questionable about it. You have further gone on to say actually the designs were done and the mobilization was done. That's why we still have a question of what's the breakdown. So it means on the face of it, you are actually saying there is no recovery to be made. Let's forget about IPCs that are supposed to follow. There is no owing on account of money was paid but nothing happened, because you are saying something happened in this regard, and it's as a consequence of that that IPCs are supposed to be coming your way, isn't it? Can we get that to be the position or not?
Witness?
Technocrats handle it.
The technocrats. We invited the architect, but for now the technocrat, please respond to that. We're a house of records. Please introduce yourself and if you are coming from the Ministry of Education.
Honorable Chair and honorable committee members, I think we have a very good opportunity now.
Kindly introduce yourself, sir. Are you coming from the ministry?
Oh, my name is Collins Mavukustali, Project Quantity Surveyor and Construction Cost Consultant for FTJ Chiluba.
Okay, I'll call on you very shortly. Let's have the ministry, the technocrat coming back to take the mic. Please respond to the question posed by the honorable member. Koka, do you wish to repeat yourself?
Repeat the question again.
The PS says the question is clear. Okay.
You may wish to repeat yourself, honorable member.
Thank you, Chair. The question is, can you confirm that as far as you are concerned, there was nothing questionable about the advance payment? That's number one. Because in your submission, you are saying it was paid in accordance with clause 14.2 of the commercial contract. And you have further gone on to submit that it was for design and mobilization. And you are saying both were done. So in that context, are you saying there was nothing questionable? Because we are trying to reconcile this with your submission that it will be recovered in full. Now that we have heard your technical explanation of what this recovery constitutes, can you be in the clear as to the jobs that were supposed to be done or activities that were supposed to be done in the advance payment were actually done, therefore nothing questionable about the advance payment? Thank you, Chair.
Witness?
Thank you very much. I think I would respond to the technical aspects of the question. Technically, we execute, like I said earlier, our guidance is the contract. And all payments to a contractor are guided by the contract documents. And the payment of the said advance was in accordance to clause 14.2 of the contract. I submit, Chair.
So the payment was not questionable. Witness. The payment was not questionable. Was a payment questionable?
Technically, it was done according to clause 14.2. I submit.
Honorable Chanya.
Thank you so much, Chair. I seem to understand them when they say that these payments were made in accordance with the contract as it had been designed. But I think our concern really is about the lack of progress or the lack of action after this payment was made. Because we are talking about these payments having been made, between 7th March and 1st June of 2018. But 4 years down the line, there was no progress, there was no evident work done. And this is what we are questioning, to say, what was the ministry doing in this intervening period, so to say, after monies had been done? What action did they take as a ministry, in terms of follow-up to this colossal sum of money that had actually been paid towards the project? Thank you.
I'm not sure if the question is clear, but I think the frustration from the members would be, why did this project take so long to take off even after paying the down payment? Is that the question? And on one side, we're being told that the down payment was paid and designs and mobilization was executed. Now we have a following out there, we have the public following these proceedings. And so colleagues, even as you are, technocrats, please try as much as possible to break it down for purposes of the general public following these deliberations. it's also very important that there's a court of public opinion, as we know, and sometimes we just lose them in translation. So let's be very methodical, very categorical, and as we deal with these matters. So number one, we spoke to the down payment, and what is coming out is that there were works done as per the contract, designs, mobilization was done, and that going by the contract, there was nothing irregular or questionable about that payment. It was as per the contract. Thank you. So, have you confirmed it? Maybe let me, yes.
Chair, that's the position. That amount of money that was paid was for two things: mobilization and the drawings. So as far as the amount is concerned, and in line with what was stipulated in the contract, that's the exact money that was paid. So they did their designs, they did their mobilization. Perhaps what would have followed thereafter is but otherwise that money went for those two things. I think that's the way I'll answer it as a.
Thank you so much, PS. Maybe at this point, we invite the consultant to take the microphone to give us a breakdown and
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Maybe once again, I'll introduce myself, Collins Mavokustali, project quantity surveyor and construction cost consultant for FTJ Chiluva. Indeed, it's not surprising, Chair, that, a lot of questions are arising out of this. We do appreciate the fact that $3 million US is a lot of money, and your committee is concerned and needs to have the answers. And also the issue of recovery. When you give somebody a loan, the loan must be paid back. So the issue is that, first of all, we are coming from a premise of a contract which is not the natural contracts that we all know. It's a design and build. Meaning the consultants, the engineers, the architects, the quant surveyors enter into a consortium with the contractor. So together they must design. And that design must be approved by the government. And once it's approved, then you get to site. And before you get to site, because there's an advance payment to be paid, the advance ought to be paid. So first of all, when we look at the date when the contract was signed, we must bear in mind that after that signing of the contract, there is now the design period. The honorable member was alluding to the issue of time. So, and she mentioned from 2018 to 2024. It's a very valid point. But now we need to bear in mind that there was the design period, and that design period is a design for the entire university. And we are not talking about one university, we are talking actually two in one, Mansa and Kasama. So designing a university is a very big thing. It's not a small thing you do in 6 months. You can almost go over a year. But also, after that, we will all remember that in 2019, COVID came in. So there was also an issue of COVID that followed. Then after that COVID issue came in, there was also an issue now of change of government, and then the government had a strategy of trying to manage this date issue. So the Ministry of Finance and ourselves began to talk, as well as the Ministry of Education, to discuss the way forward, because government felt that they couldn't go ahead. Now, those discussions so far have taken 2 years, because I do recall that it was 2017 2 years down the line. We haven't yet heard from government, but now we have heard that they have made their final decision. So in terms of time, we need to look at it from that score. Now, getting back to the advance of 33 million. In this particular contract, we must be clear that the advance was item specific. It was not a general advance for a contract like, okay, you have a contract of so much and I'm giving you a 15% advance. Go and, it was very, very specific. The advance was for mobilization as well as the design. The design does not only include drawings, it includes also the commercial documents like the bills of quantities and pricing them. These documents were all given to government for approval and they were approved. Now, when we talk about recovery of this amount, we are talking about, it's an accounting issue. I have given you a loan. Now, if I have given you a loan, you have also done work. If you have done work, how much do I owe you? Or can I get my money back now? And that's where we are. Honorable Anakoka had alluded to the fact that it's very important that we bring clarity in terms of how much was the fee for the consultants and how much was the issue of mobilization. Now, to make it certainly clear, mobilization is just one small item or one item among other things in what we call preliminaries and general items, the popularly known as P&Gs. For this particular contract, the P&Gs for the contractor to do with administrative works, because in a contract you have the actual works, the physical, the concrete, the roofing. You have also the administrative issues that arise. Okay? The insurance of the works, the what and everything, they fall under P&Gs. So the percentage for P&Gs was 15% also, okay, of the contract sum. Okay? So in that P&Gs, the contractor was supposed to get something from the advance to cover his mobilization. On a big contract like this, there's a lot that is required for you to move on site. And also, the designs were done. So the bottom line, if I'm to give you a breakdown, according to the contract, for the design, it was supposed to be in the region of 28 million for both pre and post contract. Meaning, if the job finished at the end completely, then 28 million would have been for design and management, project management of the contract until the end. But for what was done, it came to 17 million. Right? So with that 17 million, the balance is what went to the contractor to cover his mobilization. So when we talk about repayment now, it's an accounting issue. We shouldn't think of physical transfer of money moving from the contractor to the government. We are talking about now the contract is being closed and the government had given an advance and the contractor had done some work, and therefore, who owes who money? That is now from a physical work point of view. We should also be mindful of the fact that in contract there are claims. There are contractual claims. Mr. Wachat has alluded to the fact that we manage these things according to the contract. This contract has a provision for claims. If you give me a contract and you come and stand up and say, I've cancelled it, you are not going to walk scot-free. There are claims I'll give you. Okay? But also, on the other hand, even you as my client, you may have certain claims against me. So now this is the process we are getting into with government to work together, to argue, to fight, and arrive at an agreement. I must hasten to allow the honorables to be aware of the fact that this contract has a provision for, what do you call this, when you go for arbitration. Thank you, Doc. An arbitration clause, meaning if the contractor does not agree with government, this matter actually is going for arbitration. And if it goes for arbitration, the loser will still pay a lot of money, including arbitration fees. It's very important, therefore, for the Zambian people to know that those of us, both from government and private sector, who are involved in this project, we must do our best to limit the costs, particularly on behalf of government. So it's a process that we are going through. No one can bulldoze, the contractor can bulldoze, government can bulldoze. The matter can go to arbitration. And arbitration, the contractor can lose, government can lose. But we are seeing a situation where we feel we should do our best with government to, first of all, limit the exposure of government in paying extra monies over this money. Number two, we need to do our best to make the Zambian people understand that the payment that was done was in accordance with the contract, and that work was done. Intellectual property is work. People may not realize it, but it's a lot of work. I think with that, probably, Honorable Chair, I can pause there unless there are other questions from the honorable members.
Do you have any questions for the consultant? Before I can release them. Yes, Rabana Koka.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's been very eye-opening once the technocrats have explained. Earlier on, I had used the term that we were trying to be technically misled. It wasn't suggest that the technocrats were scheming to mislead us, but because the submission here should be, in my view, be buttressed by indicating the fact that this recovery is actually through IPCs. When we just say the advance payment is going to be recovered in full, on the face of it, anybody who reads it thinks that there is going to be money wired back because this was a questionable advance payment. But from your submission, you are saying there's actually nothing questionable about it. And the debits and credits, like you've said, the ones you are explaining will lead to the recovery of this advance payment through the IPCs. Chair, you said briefly that the owners of the money out there have been talking about this FTJ University. And the anticipation when anybody hears that 33 million has been released for a project is that they want to see a physical project. They might understand that it is done up to slab level, but something is being done. Now, one of the things that has led to questions being asked on this project is that it just so happened that the invisible work, important as it is, happened to be equal to the component that the government is supposed to make good of, which is the advance payment, the 15%. All right, it just happened to be exactly the same, such that there was even no 2 million, 3 million remaining for digging or clearing of the land, for people to see that if only more money was available, it would have proceeded. Because the 15 and 85% was a separate financing arrangement. But like he's explained, the 15% also happened to be the one for designing and the mobilization, which apparently was done. So I just wanted them to understand why we as the people's representatives are certainly concerned and wanted to get clarity to that extent. It's therefore my suggestion, Chair, that the ministry should put it on record that the recovery they are talking about is purely through IPCs that are being submitted. And so when they do the final accounts, it will be advance payment is equal to claimed amounts through IPCs. That's why they are saying it will be recovered in full, not just saying the money will be recovered as though it will be wired back. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I want to believe that the ministry has taken note. It's very important to always remind ourselves that we're a country of laws, you know, and contractual obligations, as the case would be. Sometimes you are going to have the push from the court of public opinion, but the onus is on us to ensure that we set the record straight. That is one of the reasons why, especially those of us who are privileged to represent our people, exist in this house for. Maybe going forward, unless there are any questions, but I think I can release the consultant and the contractor so that we remain with the ministry and the technocrats.
Thank you very much, Chair. Looks like we are walking out with our immunity.
We are going to have it up to the gate. Beyond that point, you are on your own. So, colleagues, it's I don't know if do we have a breakdown of this payment from the Minister of Finance? Do you have a breakdown? It will be important that we have it on record.
The breakdown of the 15%?
Yes.
I think the 15% was paid as per contract. I don't think we have a breakdown. It's a breakdown that was given by the consortium, because that was what was in the agreement. The government to pay 15%, and I think the breakdown of the mobilization and the design was within those figures.
Thank you, Chair. We would have actually missed that if you didn't ask that question, even though we asked it earlier. I think now the significance of the breakdown is that as you are being, I mean, to just say mobilization doesn't happen in one day, isn't it? So if let's say this contract ran into difficulties when there was only 20% of mobilization done, because surely there is 2%, there is 100% mobilization. There is also 2% and 100% of designs being done. And in this case, we have actually been told that the design, there is pre and post, isn't it? So obviously the post wasn't done. Okay, the pre should have been done because it was prior to. So which means the work done shouldn't be 100% equal to the advance payment. So do we have a breakdown of what we admit as the ministry was actually worked down against which IPCs have been issued, and therefore you anticipate that when you do your final accounts, you can say, no, this one wasn't done, so it shouldn't be included in this IPC. Do we have that breakdown as the ministry? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. Like I alluded to earlier, the stage we are going into now, it will be now a stage we'll be counting every item, every piece of item which was done on the project, and everything that wasn't done by the consortium will deduct. That's the next process we are moving into. At the end of the day, we want to ascertain the true value of the extent of the works done on the project. I hope that clarifies further your questions. I submit.
Yeah, that clarifies. But the question is, as things stand now, if the contractor said you'll be waiting outside there for you to do the reconciliation, on your records, Do you have a list of what was done as the ministry? Thank you.
A simple answer would be yes, we do.
That's the breakdown that the chair was requesting as a committee that we would like to have, because as part of our report on this issue, we should have the breakdown of what you have as work that was done, and for lack of a better term, or maybe it's the correct one, and from your processes you have certified using whoever was your project manager as the ministry.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I'm also made to understand that the contract hasn't been cancelled per se. What are the implications of this delay, the intervening period on the Treasury especially? Do we see ourselves, but do we see the contractor making any claims for this prolonged period when we, the delayment arising from our postponement or inability or failure to conclude this matter? Because I think it's taken over 3 years or close to 3 years.
Thank you, Honorable. A response to that question would risk our negotiations as we are going into the final count. So we are going into the final count. We wouldn't want to respond to say there's a risk or not a risk. We might give the other party some ideas, which we might not want that to happen, because at the end of the day, it's a negotiation, and we want to negotiate in the best interest of the client and both parties. I submit.
Thank you. I'm mindful that we have to limit the costs, and I withdraw my question on account that I'm a patriot. But besides being a patriot, I was going to push you against a war. Because these are things that these are public funds, and we know that, of course, the response would be confirming that indeed there's a risk. And I think these are things that we must also guard against, because the Treasury is going to bleed, and we might end up paying quite through the nose over this matter. Honorable Nyambose.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to find out from the PS or maybe the technocrat, maybe to be specific, technocrat. There was a loan of 225 million to build a university. Would you tell this committee what was the breakdown of the loan? Or does it show that the drawings were 28 million US dollars? Can you tell this committee about the loan that was obtained?
Please do. Please do. Please answer Honorable Nyambose's question. Honorable Nakoka is elected to be a patriot as myself.
Thank you, Chair. Like it has been explained and stated to the committee, this contract was in two parts. There was the financing agreement and the commercial part. The financing agreement, which was the custodian of Ministry of Finance, clearly indicates how the financing agreement was done. And I think Ministry of Finance would be more prudent and more in a better position to speak to how the aforementioned 225 million was broken down. But in a nutshell, it was 85% and also 15% in such a breakdown. I submit.
Let me also just guide that the query is on the advance payment and not on the 225 million. Honorable Nakoka.
you, Chair, for that guidance. So I hope I'm not going contrary to that guidance. Indeed, it's on the advance payment, but this advance payment is a component of the bigger picture. So maybe the question to the ministry, both ministries, is one would assume that before you go to enter into a financing agreement, you yourselves would have the costings done of what is the cost of this project you want to undertake. So let's pick it up from there. Did the ministry have its own internal costings done of the cost of constructing this university? Thank you, Chair.
The witness?
It's even more technical. I think my technocrats can answer that.
No, thank you, Honorable. Like any other contract, when the consortium submits its, this was an open tender, so a number of bidders submitted, and the lowest bidder, who happened to be this consortium, managed to win the tender. So it was through a competitive process for both the FTJ University as well as the King Lewanika University. So there were two universities. So it was through a competitive tender. I submit.
The question is, before, if this was a tender, and we are not saying it wasn't, it was a tender that was done on the basis of the government is already aware, at least on its own costings, how much it's looking for. Estimated costs. Okay, you should have the engineer's estimate. All right. So in that engineer's estimate, you would have a breakdown of how much was for designing, how much was mobilizing, how much was for steelworks, everything. That's how then it was decided that in order to go and look for money, we should look for 225 million, somewhere in this range. So did the government have that information? Thank you.
So is Honorable Nakoka asking if the engineers' estimates were present?
Thank you, Honorable. This one was a design and build. So the consortium were supposed to do the designs and cost them. Then, since it was a tender, an open tender for design and build, a number of consortiums came through with different designs and different costings due to their drawings. So, as the architect has earlier explained, it was since it's a design and build, the drawings were not produced by the ministry, where we sit down to do the drawings, do the BOQs, but this one was designed and costed by the consortium. And since it was designed and costed by the consortium, and a number of consortiums came through, so after the whole tender process was done, the lowest bidder was given the job, which happened to be these people that we are dealing with right now. I submit, Chair.
Thank you so much. I think it's clear. We need to wind up, colleagues. Yes. Honorable Chonyo.
So maybe for my just comfort again, sorry, on the contribution that we made, the 33 million. Of course, government was to produce this counterpart funding, but which is like what he was trying to raise earlier. Was this supposed to be all paid as an advance payment, or it was, yes, indeed, counterpart funding, but which was also supposed to be paid at stages depending on how the construction was going on? Maybe I needed that clarification.
Thank you, Honorable. According to the contract agreement, it clearly states that the advance would be 15% stated in the contract, and that's the amount of money that the borrower was supposed to contribute to this financing agreement to trigger the 85% financing. So the 15% was the advance, and it's clearly stated in the contract that the 15% will be the advance payment, and that's the amount of money that government paid. I submit.
Thank you so much. Maybe let me just allow Rob, you have a question, otherwise we need to be winding up.
I just wanted to find out from what you've submitted in regards to you, it was design and construct. How were you then able to pick a lowest bidder since the designs were different, isn't it? Is that what you're saying? Your designs are different. So this one will come with this design, this one will come with this design, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the one that you've picked, who is the lowest, is actually the lowest, because all the designs are different. So just make me understand how that was done when you didn't have something that was standardized. I submit.
No, thank you, Chair. Where the standard comes in is the brief. So you come up with a shopping list of what you want. Then consortiums out there respond to that shopping list. So it's like you want a house, for instance, a 3-bedroom house, then a number of people come responding with proposals of that particular design. Then because you choose design and build to cut short on the procurement period. Ideally, you first do the designs, you get a private consultant, they do the design, then you get a separate contractor to bid for that design. But to shorten the period, because at that time they thought the need for this to invest was too much, was high. So to shorten the period, the ministry chose the design and build route. Hence, but we produced a brief which different consortiums responded to. And the lowest, the best evaluated consortium won for both universities. I submit.
Thank you so much. Mine is to thank everyone who's for your very active participation. We will break off, and we are going to release the PS education and reconvene, I think, at 2:30 for Zambia Railways and IDC.
Chair, are you going to release the PS without a sense, or without them giving you a sense of when this whole process, might be concluded, just a projected time frame? Because if we left it like that, it can go on for another 4 years, long after a decision was made to cancel the project, because, maybe people will not feel, time bound in doing what they're supposed to.
I don't know if the PS is able to respond to that. I don't know if that decision or the whole process is within your power. Otherwise, if it's not, you might be tying yourself to a time frame you may not live up to. Over to you, PS.
Thank you so much. You're right, Chair. I don't want to tie myself, but rather mindful of the fact that we are in a hurry. In fact, I've already commenced the correspondence between the parties from our side. I've even signed the letter. I think they should be receiving that letter to actually intimate to them that we should now be doing the final accounts. But we are mindful of the fact that it's taken long and we need to conclude. So we'll try as much as possible, if it's within ourselves, to move as quickly as we can. Thank you, Chair.
Maybe the last question would be, does the country still need the FKJ University, and what are the future plans? Off record, if you wish. And King Lewanka University and Kasama University.
In fact, right now, Chair, to be very honest, we need all these universities. In fact, looking at the presidential directive, where it's even put it very clearly that each province should have a university, as a ministry, we've already gone ahead and written to all the provincial teams to look for land for us, where we can actually be able to put up universities in each province where there is no university. So we are in a hurry. We need to be progressive, and the policy direction has already been given, and we need to follow it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, PS. And one is just left to wonder whether when we move into Luapula we'll run with the same designs and etc. And whether that will be more cost effective for us, whether the disengagement will be in the best interest of what we seek to do. But anyway, one Zambia, one nation. We'll see what 30. Thank you so much. We lift your immunity. Please, as you step out of this building, you are on your own. Thank you so much. Yeah, finance, please, we're still with you.
My eParliament mobile application. First, download the app on either Play Store or App Store and install. After installation, open the app. Step 1. Register your personal information, that's your names, gender, NRC and date of birth. Step 2. Add your contact information, your email, phone number and home address. Step 3. Select your constituency. Step 4. Create your 4-digit PIN. At this point, the system will send an SMS to your mobile number with a one-time passcode. Step 5. Confirm with one-time passcode that was sent to your mobile. Step 6. Sign in using your phone number and the 4-digit PIN. And Step 7. Create your submission and submit. My eParliament, bringing Parliament closer to you.
Never thought love would be so sweet. Hard as part was for me to believe in it. Broken hearts on this bitter street. Then you came in to give the peace. Yeah. Now I'm shining. Next to you is where I'm dining. At the table we're reclining, bringing life to what was dying. I'm crying. In my thoughts like tell me why. Never worthy of the love that you give. Nango wakambedine wasila, nango wakambedine walakwa, nango wakambedine wachabe, ananisaka. Nango wakambedine wasila, nango wakambedine walakwa, nango wakambedine wachabe, ananisaka. Ananisaka. Celebrations up in the streets. Yeah, love is here and it will not leave. You can have it if you believe. Yeah. Ooh, shining. Next to you is where I'm dining. At the table we're reclining, bringing life to what was dying. I'm crying. In my thoughts like tell me why. Never worthy of the love that you give. Nango wakambedine wasila, nango wakambedine walakwa, nango wakambedine wachabe, ananisaka. Nango wakambedine wasila, nango wakambedine walakwa, nango wakambedine wachabe, ananisaka. Ananisaka. No stigma, no division. Ukani man. Yo, Kathy Zulu, give it to him.
Sonolekani ni muimbile, sonolekani ni muvindile, sonolekani ni muyamike, chifukwa ananisakanye. Sonolekani ni muimbile, sonolekani ni muvindile, sonolekani ni muyamike, chifukwa ananisakanye. Sonolekani ni muimbile, sonolekani ni muvindile, sonolekani ni muyamike, chifukwa ananisakanye.
yowe kwena kalenga wakisuma niwe weka se kabili wabumba nyomonzo se wabikamo nomukumu wamupela nobuteko mwisonde we mfumu suwe mfumu yo 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 wekalenga wakisuma niwe Tauchinja aweza wabango mtu uchinja wachinda mikeshi wiliobe wali fyonse iwe kawasosa fyachitwa awenga wa